What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 8 of Private Lesson. In this week's episode, we're working with Mark. I've worked with Mark probably about 3 or 4 times now. And yesterday we ended up on my Supercross track at Tomahawk Mx. So this is my Supercross track that was professionally built by 402 Tracks and Trails. It's since been dumbed down into an amateur version, similar to, I guess, what you would see at a Supercross Futures event. So Mark wanted to work some stuff on that as far as getting some of the bigger obstacles and piecing things together with the corners. Now, this is a video that I was a little hesitant on putting out certain parts of it, only because he did crash pretty hard at one point, and he's fine. Don't worry, he's fine. He got back up, finished the day no problem, and conquered what he was trying to do. I'm always on the opposite end of the spectrum as far as being a teacher that is always reeling riders back in and telling them not to do things because I don't think they're ready for it yet. In this specific situation, I think that Mark was ready, or I know that Mark was ready to do all of this. It was just a matter of him piecing together the jump, which was a triple, with a very short braking zone into a bull turn, and just not having much time to get yourself together and set up for the turn itself. Now, I've worked with Mark enough at this point to know what he's capable of and what he's not capable of. This is definitely just a matter of, you could tell the obstacle is getting in his head a little bit because of how quick the corner is after it. And that's Supercross for you. It simply just doesn't give you the time and the room for error. Mark learned a lot throughout the day. I'm working with him again on Monday, so made some serious progress by the end of this video and by the end of our session. And we're definitely going to be able to build on that moving forward. If you guys can, hit the subscribe button below. Even if you don't care to be subscribed, hit the button. I think it helps me out. Give the video a thumbs up, all that good stuff. I do appreciate you guys watching, and the channel is growing pretty quickly, so I definitely appreciate that. We have some good weather coming up this week. It should be in the high 40s, low 50s, which is solid for Northern Virginia last week in December. So should be able to have some good private lesson content, and I hope you guys keep enjoying. So I did a couple warm-up laps on Mark's bike. By the way, this is my Supercross track at Tomahawk Mx that we would turn into an amateur Supercross for the time being. Mostly because I didn't want to pay to have it rebuilt. Look at that puddle. Holy moly. So basically our option here is to go up, square down really, really tight to avoid this mess. I get you doing that triple. And if we could piece some things together, you're going to be dodging all the puddles, and you'll really only have to deal with 1 or 2 minor ones. But what you said right before I just fired the camera up is you're struggling to get the lines because you're going too fast in some places and your timing is a little bit off. Biggest thing we're going to have to work on is the timing of your braking zones, the timing of your standing and sitting, because in a Supercross track, everything is so tight that if you miss one spot, you miss your mark in one spot, forget it, you're gonna mess up the next 3 turns because you just simply don't have time to correct it, right? It's like, holy crap, jump, okay, here's a turn. And then when you throw in like all these minefields of frozen puddles and things that you have to avoid, it's a whole different ball game. You have to be very, very precise. The smoother you can be, the better off. Were you in second gear pretty much the whole time?
The whole time.
Okay. As you start to gain a little bit more forward momentum, shifting the third will help. Even in spots where you feel like that bike is geared so low you can get away with third. I'd rather you be on the verge of lugging just because you are going to get more traction. Then right now in second, it's a little it's a little snappy. And I can see every time you snap the throttle, that bike, the rear end wants to get away from you. And every time you pop the throttle on the takeoff, it's sending you funny. I saw a couple, like you got a little kick in the rear, and a couple, you went real front and high on that triple one time. You went front and high, I think on the table, the single when you did the tabletop. And that's because you're coming up and just blipping the throttle last second. So you essentially have 2 options, but the problem with the far outside right now is the water is just filling into that hole. Normally that's my line, and you can kind of be on the edge of, normally the puddle is dead center, but the water just keeps funneling to that side. So really what we have to do is square this thing up and get down to the right line so we could stay out of that puddle. squaring up, it's a little bit of an advanced skill. This is one situation where I would say the clutch is going to be something you need to use, but just very quickly. We don't want to use the clutch to brake, because I did catch you doing that a couple times. I saw you coming out of like the sand section, whatever you want to call that. That's my whip pad. You would brake coming into that left-hand bull turn with the clutch pulled, and you would just skid the whole way into the turn. So we don't want to use the clutch for that. But what you would do is it's such a tight apex right here that I use the clutch just for a second, because if not, you would probably just stall the bike.
Yeah.
And this is one situation where usually I would frown upon this, but I was guilty of doing it too, because it's the only way I could get the bike to turn that tight, is I'm using the rear brake and the rear brake only to kind of do a little like slide the rear wheel, and so I can cut down. Very few situations would I use that technique. But in a supercross bull turn where you have to square up that tight, that's something I would use the rear brake to do. A supercross bull turn where you see Tomahawk just fly around the thing and he's on the gas and it looks like he's steering with the rear end, is what they call it. That's actually done with a throttle. But something that tight, you could do it with the throttle, but you have to be a beast to do it. Like the cheater way, so to speak, is to just drag the rear brake and then just square it up so we can get it nice and tight. Remember, that's something that I normally would say no, right? Because I'd normally get off the rear brake here, flow around the turn. This is very, very specific stuff that we're working. Another thing, get over that triple. Have you ridden this track at all?
No, not once.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. It may be a little intimidating, and it may seem like the corner's pretty close to the landing of that triple, but the problem now is not only are you landing in a frozen hole of doom, but you're landing the double, and then you're bouncing the landing of the triple, and then you're landing somewhere here, and your suspension's compressing and unloading, and then when you're trying to turn sharp, your suspension's actually at the top of its stroke, because you've just landed and now it's unloading itself. So it's throwing the bike all off. If you do the triple, your bike's going to be right in its happy place by the time you're trying to settle into the turn, because you've landed, the bike's gone through its compression, and it's kind of rebounded back to its natural point, to where I just call it its happy place. It's not like at the top of the stroke or at the bottom, it's just right there in the middle where you can get some traction. You're not going to be able to get that if you go double single. And what you'll realize is once you actually do commit to doing the triple, you have so much time to make this turn. Oh boy. I usually don't tell students to do jumps. He's more than capable of this, but there's just not much room for forgiveness on Supercross. This is the one thing you guys can't do is know the speed that it takes to case the crap out of something and then do it again and again. He should now know, okay, that was a little too slow, so more commitment. But he keeps going the same speed. Dude, same speed every time is gonna put you in the same spot on the landing every time. Those three, if there was a radar gun on you, you just went the same exact speed 3 times in a row.
Was the first one good?
I mean, your first one was the best one, for sure.
It felt better.
You could have easily made the turn on the first one, but what you did was smart. I mean, you're lucky where you were going on the other side of that berm was safe. I thought for sure you were gonna slide out that time.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, your abort missions were good. Like, you seemed to remain pretty calm and you just jumped over the berm casually. That type of stuff happens as long as you don't panic and you have a good sense of what's on the other side.
Yeah, I've done too much.
And there's not other people on the track.
Yeah.
Those were good bailouts. Those are fine. But dude, you landed. Well, at least you didn't land in the puddle. But you cased it right here. First time. Second time, third time.
Dang.
And I knew before you even got into the air exactly where you were going to land, just based on your RPMs. Especially after, so hearing your RPMs gets you to here, and then your very next one you're doing the same exact thing. I'm like, well, of course he's going to land here again. Third one, same exact thing.
Where do you get on the brakes?
Well, I don't get on the brakes probably until down there somewhere, but I think that's your thing right now. If this jump were just out in the middle of an open field, you'd have zero issues with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's a corner you have to make, it's in your head. So you're trying to short yourself and come up a little bit short on it. And again, it's bouncing you. You're getting bounced probably to here. And then by the time you actually get yourself together, you're not able to hit the brakes until you're into the berm, which is why you had to jump it.
Yeah.
Where if you jump 3 feet further, you're not going to get a crazy kick. You're going to be able to brake right here and be nice and slowed down by the time you get to there. I know everything in your brain is scared and it wants you to just like back down a little bit. And I'm also never one to push somebody to try to get over a jump. But you're more than capable, and I want you to learn from the mistakes. Let me demonstrate one more time. Now that thing shouldn't die, hopefully. Legit, just roll the jump before it. You can go wide open and be fine on this. Okay. So my advice to you now would just be drive down the landing of that and just hit it with mostly everything you have in third gear. I'll hit it even faster this time. I'm gonna completely roll the obstacle before it, but I'm gonna drive down the landing wide open and just see where that puts me.
Yeah,
you're not gonna be able to get that much speed.
Yeah,
I promise. Like that was me really getting a good drive down.
You landed about halfway between the turn and the landing.
Did I?
Yeah, right where you.
To me, it felt smooth. I know, like with your skill set at the time being, that landing would be a lot more harsh than what I'm able to do, just because I have experience of casing things and overshooting things. But to give you peace of mind, you're not gonna jump that far.
Okay.
I just want you to just stop casing that darn thing.
Yeah. I think it's like you said, the turn is what's in my head, but
forget about the turn, because
yeah, I mean every time I've just went to the right, and it's been fine.
I just have peace of mind knowing that the first 3 or 4 or 5 jumps that you just did were the most dangerous things that you could do, yeah. And you survived them all, no problem. So if you just jump a little bit further, all of this is just only going to get easier. Have faith in me. I promise you won't overshoot it.
Okay.
If I promise to somebody that they're not going to overshoot it, they're not going to overshoot it. So I just want him to commit to this thing without the fear of landing in the turn. Much better. Much better. Whoa, 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 whoa. Cleared it perfect, just didn't hit the brakes when he landed. Yeah, there you go. You good? Was that dirt hard? Are you fine?
Yeah, I'm good.
Bike looks fine.
I landed like freaking right here.
Huh?
I landed like right there.
Yeah, I mean, dude, again, like, all things considered, other than landing on this piece of cement, you did a good job of, both of those could have been really bad. I'd like to say let's shut it down, but if you watch those back on film,
yeah,
you cleared it perfect twice. And you didn't have a ridiculous amount of speed, but you just never hit the brakes. I think as soon as you landed, you were like, oh my God, I'm going too fast. And you just kind of like, you froze a little bit.
Yeah.
You have to land, hit the brakes pretty hard, but quick. I'm talking from me to you. You have 5-7 feet of hard braking, and then you can just relax.
Okay. I'm not going to let it beat me, that's for sure.
What you need to eventually do is downshift to second. If you're not in too much of a panic mentally in the air, downshifting to second will, once you know that you're going to clear it perfect, will help you make that turn no problem.
I think I would rather slide out hitting the rear brakes too much than do this again.
Can you downshift to second in the air this time?
I think I can. I mean, I can
Commit to it exactly how you did the last two,
but get a downshift to second, and when you land, even if you do have the brain fart and forget to hit your brakes like you just did, being in second gear, I think you'd be going slow enough with that much engine brake to still make the turn.
Okay.
But when you land that thing, get on the front and rear, not too hard, but just sort of hard, and be in that, you're in a good attack position when you land. Just get on the brakes for 5 feet in second gear, and then you're gonna make that turn so easy. Once you actually accomplish this and get it down once or twice, you're gonna be like, because you see how easy I make it look when I do it, right?
Yeah.
Because it is easy. It's just, right now you're freaking out a little bit and you keep doing dangerous things. But once you finally piece it together, you're gonna be like, oh, all right, now I get it.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Be safe. There we go. Now much better.
I think I got a little too excited.
Those are good though. And not only were you able to do the jump, you were able to square up the turn, and then you committed to the exit of the turn as well. Trying to get stopped with the clutch pulled in, so you're doing like this crazy skid the whole way up the berm. Can you feel yourself doing that at all?
Yeah, I noticed. I'm going really fast.
Your stopping power should be done without the clutch, so that you can try to get some wheel chatter, and then the only time that you should really lock up the rear to get the little skid is to do that little skid motion at the very top, and that's just the quickest little movement. You're doing like a 30-foot long skid with the rear tire locked up. It's defeating the purpose. You're not getting any stopping power. It's gonna be very hard to be consistent that way too. So I'm gonna demonstrate what you're doing first. If I could even do it, I'm just gonna pull the clutch in and do a huge skid. And then I'll show you what it should look like, getting that wheel chatter, and then just using the clutch just a little bit to get that tire to skid here. Difference between the skid the whole way is very hard to control, and it doesn't really stop you. It more so just makes you spin out. Where the other one, I got wheel chatter right up until where your goggles are placed, and then I just pull the clutch in for that split second just to square up, and then I'm able to cut down. That's why when I do my laps, I can get to this rut every single time without fail. Where the way you're squaring it up,
I went in the middle one time.
You go in the middle one time, you come over here one time. You're not really choosing where to go. It's
where
wherever your bike puts you, you end up going. People underestimate the complexity of how many things have to happen in this very short amount of time. So where I'm standing now is where I told him to not touch the clutch before he gets to where I am. Let's see if he does it. Hopefully he doesn't hit me. There we go, some wheel chatter. There we go. Still a little sloppy with the square up aspect of it because he's never practiced this, but he was able to get slowed down much quicker getting that wheel chatter, and then he got to the clutch after. Not bad, a little slow. I'm not a trainer that would ever tell my rider to do a jump I didn't think he was capable of. I'm not a trainer that would have my rider try to do something in conditions that weren't safe, even though it is cold and there are parts of the track that are for sure frozen. The section that we're working here is actually honestly pretty darn good. I mean, way more traction than most California tracks, that's for sure. And he's adamant about conquering this section, so no better time to do it than when I'm here assisting him and telling him how to do it the proper way.